The start of a grueling stretch for the Pro Late Models. Here comes Connor Zilisch and Katie Hettinger. We are kicking off the Tough Shed 250 with the Pro Late Models at Hickory. Oh, Hettinger bounces off the wall as he exits turn 2 on the first lap. That car evidently no worse for the wear, but she got way wide on the exit of turn number 2 and definitely caught the concrete on corner exit. Now loses a spot to Matt Craig.
We'll see if Hettinger can rebound right there, trying to use that outside lane. We know these Pro Late Models carry so much speed through the center of the corner. It's the main reason why they're faster than many of the late model stocks that you'll see running here tonight. So Hettinger able to slot her way down into second, and a couple of cars. Well, I'm really interested to see. We saw it work in the late model stocks. Is now Hettinger. More contact into the wall on the front straightaway.
Then comes off the fence to get into the side of Austin McDonald. Now Ashton Higgins up to the backside of Hettinger's Chevrolet. While another car, Isabella Robusto, slides that 28 to the inside of Hettinger as they come off turn 4. Not the start that Katie Hettinger was hoping for. She finds a place in line between Robusto and Higgins in the 9. And now it is Higgins who is under fire while the battle for the lead intensifies.
Well, and I think we'll have to follow up. I think Hettinger had a little bit of smoke there, perhaps a tire rub as a result of that contact with the outside wall. But looking up front, we talked about Brent Cruz, somebody that could definitely go up and win this race a little bit earlier. And boy, does his car cut through the center of the corner very well. He may be challenging here in short order with Connor Zilisch for the race lead.
These two drivers started off their careers in similar ways, bouncing through karting ranks on a national scale. Now they find themselves side by side at America's most famous short track. Cruz to the bottom, Zilisch up top, door to door in turn 1 for the lead. Cruz pokes out in front, but Zilisch fights back.
That he does. Is a little bit of contact made there into turn number 3. No harm, no foul, though. Zilisch will relinquish the race lead. 39 laps to go. Already one lead change here at Hickory Motor Speedway tonight. Brent Cruz leading the pack.
There's not a lot of history when it comes to Pro Late Model competition under the Cars Tour banner. Last year, 2 races here, William Sawalich waxed the field in back-to-back races. That may be one of the first lead changes we've ever seen in Pro Late Model competition. After Sawalich swept him a year ago, Cruz is not going to allow Zilisch a chance to do the same. Matt Craig, 3rd in the 54, just behind the 15H of Hopkins. As the pack is kind of broken up in about 3 different 2-car tandems. Trouble, turn 4. One car has spun on the 4th corner, and it will slow the field just 10 laps in. And that is the number 27 of Lee Tissett, who is gone for a slide. Into the KRC power steering restart zone they come. It will be Brent Cruz, the control car, to get us back underway with the Pro Late Models at Hickory. And Zilisch gets a great launch on the outside. Let's see if that sticks in 1 and 2. As Cruz tries to fight back on the bottom. On the back straightaway they go. Restart is clear. Zilisch with a half a car length advantage. Cruz trying to muscle his way back down low.
And while one Rackley War car tries to go to the front of the field, I believe it was the other in Dawson Sutton a little bit further on back that may have had almost the exact same situation we saw with Katie Hettinger. Scraped the outside wall off the exit of turn 2, though. Brent Cruz up the racetrack, and Zilisch still trying to hang on. And oh, by the way, Mike Hopkins is here, Eric. He was pretty good the last time we were out at Southern National.
Hopkins lurking. While these two young guns go at it, there may already be a donut on the right side of Brent Cruz' number 24 car. There is, just behind the exhaust, as he washes a little bit wide there on corner entry, trying to force his way up alongside, at least to get door handle to door handle with Zilisch. Now he runs him a little bit wide in 3 and 4.
It looks like Cruz finally able to complete that pass, or at least I thought so for a moment. Zilisch able to try and slot in line, and that he is going to do in front of Mike Hopkins. So Brent Cruz, I tell you what, did a nice job trying to hold off Zilisch right there, using all the racetrack he could on the bottom to try to make that move work. And that'll be an interesting talking point throughout the night. We know at Florence we had a lot of rain there on race day as well. Top lane kind of got washed off. Not as a whole lot of rubber on the racetrack. Somewhat of the same conditions here, but I think Hickory much more willing to kind of run on that outside lane, at least early in this race. And this Pro Late field will certainly put a lot of rubber down. As you see the entry we were talking about earlier, the other Rackley War Chevrolet, Dawson Sutton on the inside of Ashton Higgins, who had contact with K.E. Hettinger, who just runs right behind him.
I believe Ashton Higgins may have caught the wall a couple of laps ago on the backstretch. Almost did it there again as he leaves the door open on the inside for Hettinger to try to get back up towards that outside front row starting spot she had when they came to the green. Just in front of these two cars, oh, we got a crash. Turn 4 yet again. This time a couple more cars are involved than the first time around. Tissot was one of them. That's Rusty Skews backing away in the Top Gun Motorsports number 8. And Logan Jones in the 77 will complete the carnage in the fourth corner. The character of the Hickory Motor Speedway is what makes coming here twice a year so much fun. Cruz and Zilish bring us back into the KRC Power Steering restart zone. Cruz already into the side of Zilish as they tussle for the lead in turn 1. Washed up a little bit there and gave the right side door to Zilish, and we're not done yet.
I'll tell you what, Cruz is really taking some liberties there with that entry as he's really arcing pretty wide for running there on the bottom, having a car to his outside. As Zilish trying to get and find a way underneath him, he's not able to do it. Hawkins will clear for third, and further on back you see Matt Craig and Isabella Robusto making her presence felt, somebody who has a ton of experience here at Hickory Motor Speedway. No shock to see that she has moved up a couple of positions and may have notched one more as she gets in a turn 4, and indeed she does.
We talked about some of the Trans Am TA2 success that Brent Cruz, Connor Zilish have had so far this season. Let's not forget Isabella Robusto in that 28 car. She's got about 69 to 70 races or so on her schedule for this year. Also doing some GT sports car racing of her own in the Toyota development pipeline as we got double wide action all throughout the pack. There's the number 44 making his first start of the season. One of the 44s in the field. That one is that of Michael Litchfield, who is trying to make a move. Also, Tristan McKee after the spin in qualifying. And unfortunately, Blake, Hettinger keeps falling back. Big crash for George Phillips.
Just a small checkup when all those cars were running in line, started all of that. And George Phillips, who was well behind, looks like he gets the worst end of it. But several cars with some significant damage.
Well, that may be the agony of defeat. The thrill of victory is 80 laps away. Cruz on the inside in the 24. Zilish topside in the 25. These two have touched several times the last couple of restarts. Will the trend continue as Cruz tries to settle that car on the bottom? They may have made a little contact there, door to door at the line.
These two have raced so close and yet haven't really crossed that line. Zilish holding him down for all he's worth, and Brent Cruz trying to once again kind of arc out into the corner, trying to hold Zilish at bay.
All the while on that restart, Isabella Robusto up to third, waiting in the wings if something should happen with these two as they almost lock together off the second corner. Cruz cements the lead, Zilish in second, and he must be red hot.
He has to be red hot, but I tell you, one driver who is trying to make their way forward, and oh, by the way, side-by-side battle for the lead once again. So we'll see how these two drivers can try and, oh, Zilish, a little bit of contact right there with Brent Cruz, as now he has the bottom lane, which we'll see if that 25 can try to make his way by that 24 car.
Now the roles are reversed. It's Zilish on the inside. He was able to make the top side work a couple of times so far today, up into the door of Cruz. They almost catch the concrete as that to the 24 car. And now it's Zilish trying to fade about a quarter to a half a lane up to open the door for Robusto coming through for second.
I was about to say one car that is red hot in a good way is probably Mike Hopkins, because he is driving up to these leaders, probably loves what he sees in front of him. But Isabella Robusto able to get by Brent Cruz to second. This is her first time in a pro late model here at Hickory. She's run so much at this racetrack, but never in a pro late model. But I gotta say, she's taken to it pretty well.
Had a great start to her season with a top 10 finish at Southern National, and trying to gain some momentum on the pro late model side and hope that it parlays to success in the late model stock a little bit later on tonight. Hopkins, as you mentioned, Blake, having a peek on Cruz for third spot. Robusto about a car length off of Zilish, your leader. That battle for the lead is intense. Battle for third is intense. This is some good racing.
Yes, it is. And isn't it interesting that we find our two drivers who will also be competing in the late model stocks are running 1-2 in this race? Zilish and Robusto have a lot more racing to look forward to, but they want a checkered flag here in this pro late model portion. And I got to say, Robusto's car looking awfully good right here, able to cut through the center of the corner very well. But again, she knows she's been here at Hickory a time or two before. She knows exactly where to try to set up Connor Zilish, who may not have quite as much experience at this racetrack, but is yet still a race winner, a late model stock car competition, and the weekly racing series here at Hickory.
We see these cars bouncing oftentimes violently through some of the characteristics that make this racetrack so much fun. This track opened back in 1951, but it was as a half-mile dirt track. Went through some reconfiguration, some paving, and the scale at which you see today was established back in 1970. There's been a lot of bumps. There's been a lot of repairs made. You can see the different colors in asphalt as the drivers work their way down the backstretch. And it creates a lot of unique spots where in these pro late models, you got to keep these cars wound up. And it almost forces you or dares you to try to make yourself go through some of the most abrasive parts of this racetrack as fast as you can, or else be caught out by the car behind you.
And again, it has not been paved since then. You can see the remnants of it, all the just character that this place has that we talk about. You can see the concrete patches that they've even put in this racetrack to try and preserve it. There's one on the front straightaway that's pretty much your lifting point. Maybe not if you're in a pro late model, but maybe in a late model stock, you want to lift just past that entering turn number 1. But it's what drivers love about this racetrack. Is now Mike Hopkins. You can see he moves by Brent Cruz. That's for the 3rd position.
Hopkins is driving like he's got a plane to catch. And in fact, he does tomorrow morning. Up to 3rd out of Herman, Maine. We recall the success that Hopkins has had. He's not the only 15 in the field, however. There's several of them. One of them is in your picture there in Brett Suggs, a number 15 car. And Blake, I know we talked about this a little bit earlier, but that team is reeling with a very unexpected and tragic loss amongst their camp. And as he gets a little bit of a fender rub there from Joshua Horniman, Suggs is racing with a lot of motivation tonight.
Yes, he is. I was pulling up to the Speedway here, parked next to him, was happy to get out, and said, "Hey man, how are you doing?" And unfortunately he had a nameplate right next to him, and Chris Nolte, unfortunately one of his crew members that passed away yesterday. It was a part of his crew the last time he ran a pro late model here at Hickory Motor Speedway. So Brett Suggs racing with a heavy heart, but you know what? I think he'd be a little happy that he was able to check up for that last incident. As you can see now, he goes side by side after maybe brushing the wall there off of turn 2.
Yeah, caught the wall ever so slightly there, which will take him out of the 15 spot, losing a spot there to Joshua Horniman in the 43, as well as that number 5B. Oh, look out, Tissot. What a save! Bounced off the left side door of Suggs, and now he's got Luke Morey up to his inside.
Tell you what, Tissot has had a long night here at Hickory, but
eventful.
Again, he's keeping himself in it, though. What a fantastic save that was.
Up in the front of the pack, race leaders in lap traffic. That's Dylan Garner, who has just gone a lap down. Robusto closing up here as we inch closer to the iRacing halfway point of this race. Lap 50. There'll be a halfway award that will be up for grabs for both the late model stocks. That'll be at the middle of their 150 lapper. Here in this 100 lapper for the pros, it's in 7 laps time. And right now, Robusto is starting to challenge Zilish not only for that lead, but for that iRacing halfway money.
Again, knowing that competition caution may be around the corner if we continue to go here, how aggressive do you want to get in this lap traffic, manage your track position? These top 2 have a little bit of a gap that is being managed right now over Mike Hopkins, but yet look in front of you and you have an opportunity, if you're Robusto, to try and take advantage, maybe take control of the race lead. And once we get back to the KRC Power Steering restart zone, be able to have control of that restart.
We could see Lee Tissot, who is one of the cars who was involved in a couple of the cautions tonight, alongside of Rusty Skews, right in front of the leaders. Justin Whitaker also in front as Robusto turns Zilish off of turn number 4. Zilish may have lifted momentarily as he caught the tail end of the lead lap. And Robusto turns Connor Zilish out of the race lead. As they come into the KRC Power Steering restart zone, Robusto and Hopkins bounce off each other as they come to the line.
Oh, and Cruz, I thought he thought about going 3 wide there into turn number 1, backed out of it just a little bit, but Hopkins nearly into the wall, scraping it, trying to make that outside work, and my goodness, he is running way higher than we've seen any car run tonight, but you know what? He is putting it to good use as he has it at the stripe, and he will clear Robusto off of turn 2.
One of the things we've seen several times tonight is the inside car slide up into the left side door of the car on the top lane. Hopkins made sure he left plenty of real estate between he and Robusto, and he's got the race lead. Side-by-side battle here. McDonald in the white 13 on the outside. Craig in the 54 on the low side, as Robusto may have a fender back inside your leader.
She has a fender inside, but Hopkins is running. Look how high he's running. He's putting his right side tires there on those, the white lines, and he may have gotten a little too high, as now Robusto counters back with her own punch. She takes the race lead back from Mike Hopkins.
The effort to dust off that second and a half or maybe third lane didn't pay off that well there, and he is a lap away from potentially losing the halfway money as Robusto is out in front. Here is Sutton trying to muscle his way down to the inside of McDonald's in the 13, and Luke Baldwin in the black number 15 just behind.
Sutton, one of the biggest movers we've had in this race, started back in the 12th position and finds himself up into the top 5. A little bit of contact there with McDonald, though, entering turn number 3. And boy, McDonald still got a great run off of the corner. And I tell you what, in 3 and 4, I still am marveling at the line that Mike Hopkins took there. I think these drivers put that in the memory bank. Remember that for later on in this race.
One of the other 15s in the field, sandwiched in the middle of that battle. Luke Baldwin, as we got contact behind. Here is Connor Zilish.
Already? Are you kidding me?
Already. Just shy of the top 10 is that of Zilish. He's battling Caden Quapple in the 96 and Ashton Higgins for what would be 10th and 11th respectively, as Quapple makes a little bit of contact there with Higgins off 4.
I mean, he's made up, 7, 8, 9 spots in just a handful of laps. I mean, that is just incredible, the pace that's in that Rackley War car. You can see his teammate a little bit further up in the field in Sutton that we just talked about, getting up into the top 5, and you can see it right there, is battling and yet still making up so much time as he gets by Higgins.
As you mentioned just a short while ago, though, Blake, for Zilish, if he's going to need the help of a yellow, it's going to have to come in an organic fashion. We're going to be beyond the point of that competition caution, being able to bail out the driver, that 25, but his charge forward is not done yet. That is for 10th position on Caden Quapple. Pass made, target locked and set on Hettinger, who's up the road in 9th.
It's incredible how fast that car is. And on the opposite side, and a decent rebound for Hettinger, who just really looked to struggle and looked really tight after making contact. Hasn't quite been able to make her way further forward up into 7th or 8th. A little bit of smoke, I believe that was off the McDonald machine. But Hettinger is just kind of settled in this position right here. But you can see Zilish pulls away by a couple of car lengths in just one lap. That 25 car is just hooked up right now.
Not missing anything up front. The gap from first to second, about 0.3 of a second. As Hettinger in the 81 has a look on the inside of McKee in the 7. Luke Baldwin just in front. This is the beginning of what may be a 3-race deal. Had the support of the Salty Dog Cafe come on board. Of course, Luke, the son of Daytona 500 winning crew chief Tommy Baldwin. And we'll be seeing him for at least a few more races to start off this season. Hopkins starting to close. Cruz about a second plus back in 3rd as the fight for the lead is on with 40 to go.
And boy, does this remind me of Southern National in so many ways, as Hopkins was sizing up the competition, running up in the top 5, and elected to strike at the perfect time, and may have gotten up into the marbles here at Hickory when he had that little incident, but trying to find a way back about Isabella Robusto. We have chronicled Connor Zilich's drive up through the field, and he has one more spot that he's gaining. He finally gets by Katie Hettinger.
There is a possibility that if Zilish could time a bit of a yellow, he may not be out of contention for this one just yet. We're also getting to that point in the race where we are going to see who has been able to maintain their pace throughout the duration of this 100-lapper, and getting off the corner is what's going to be key. Hopkins holds a tighter line on the left side of your screen in the double box to close up ever so closely as we got a spin in turn number 4 right in front of the leaders, and that's Rusty Skews that's going to slow the pace of this field, and Connor Zilish has got to be thrilled about this. Still an opportunity to improve on that. Isabella Robusto brings us into the KRC Power Steering restart zone. Round 1 winner, Hopkins trying to keep her honest on the outside lane in turns 1 and 2. Robusto by half a car length has the edge to 3.
It looks like she's going to be able to clear Hopkins. Oh, a big slide. That's Sutton, who was down onto the apron in 3 and 4. Looks like everything is good back there, but Hopkins is able to get back to the bottom, and he is all up almost into the fuel cell of Isabella Robusto off of turn 2. They still go side by side behind him for 4th. They're side by side now for the lead. Hopkins has a nose down low.
Hopkins has a bit of a cheering section just outside of our tower, trying to urge that number 15 to get up to and past Robusto for the top spot. Cruz third, Sutton alongside Craig in number 54, and Connor Zilish is inside of Luke Baldwin, continuing his charge forward.
That is amazing right there, and almost caught up to his teammate in that car number 26, as Sutton still stuck in that side-by-side battle for the 5th spot. But my goodness here, I mean, Zilish, he could still win this race. It is well within the realm of possibility that that could happen here with 34 laps to go. Needs a little bit of help to make that happen, but he's certainly just on a tear right now.
No matter the outcome, you have to be impressed with his ability to maintain composure and put on a charge up through the pack of this nature. Austin McDonald, the 13, next in line. Now down nearly to the apron is that of Zilish as he draws even with the door of car 13. Little bit of contact there off the corner. All the while, Sutton and Craig continue to bounce off one another in what is a race just up ahead of Zilish in what would be 4th.
McDonald trying to hold up the racetrack, and now Zilish going to get 2 for 1 in one corner. He has already found himself back into the top 5, side by side with Sutton, I should say, his teammate. He finds himself in 5th, and oh, by the way, Isabella Robusto still has her hands full trying to fend off Mike Hopkins.
That time, Hopkins had a great drive off the corner. Look at him close in as they exit the corner. This is where Hopkins gained a lot of ground last time through, holding that car tighter on the exit of turn 4, but not enough to draw alongside Robusto, who continues to hold the lead with Brent Cruz lurking.
Again, I think this is where experience is really going to help Robusto, and knowing if your car maybe isn't quite working as well as Hopkins, where you need to run on this racetrack to try to make that pass as difficult as possible. But you can see Hopkins trying a little bit of a wider line into 1, trying to keep that momentum off of turn 2. But I think this is where Robusto, having that experience at Hickory, is something that is going to help her once again. A little bit of lap traffic up the road, though. That's another factor in this race, that with 27 to go, you see number 49 right in front of them. But they're about half a track behind, but they will catch that traffic if we continue going here.
Zilish now up to 4th, ahead of Matt Craig. The right side of your double box. Left side, you see Luke Maury, 3rd place finisher at Southern National Motorsports Park. Brought on a new partnership for the start of this race. And the number 49 car of Maury is having a bit of a slide. In his Armed Society Meta Militia, number 49, he yields to the top 2. Robusto and Hopkins clear of Maury, who settles 3rd car in line between runner-up Hopkins and 3rd place runner Brent Cruz.
Again, clean racetrack in front of them for now. It's been about a car length that has separated your top 2 for the last handful of laps. Fastest car on the racetrack, shouldn't be a shocker, was Connor Zilish, who now is clear of the 4th spot. But again, he probably needs a yellow to get back in contention of this one, as he's about crossing the start-finish line and needs to make up 2.7 seconds when they were heading into turn 1 there.
The unfortunate reality for Zilish is Dawson Sutton continues to trade paint with Matt Craig, who moves him out of the way. Sutton gets a shot from behind from the super late model champion to fall back another spot and out of the top 5. Oh, you can see Sutton lit up the back tires. He desperately wants to get back to that 54 if he can.
And McDonald, I think, kind of followed him up into the outside while they're off in turn 2. These prolates, and again, continuing to see smoke or potential tire rub right there for Dawson Sutton, perhaps after that contact. Yeah, you can see it into the corner, a little bit of smoke trail in that 26 car.
Hopkins on the left side of your screen appears to have decided to settle in just a little bit to see if he could perhaps give it another go to get up to and around Robusto. That time, Hopkins lights up the backside of the race car off 4. That skate cost him just a little bit of breathing room, but he is still within a car length of Robusto as they race into turn 3.
You see Connor Zilish getting by the lap traffic, and perhaps even a little bit of contact there as he was trying to make his way by. Hopkins that last time, you could really see trying to wrap the bottom. But again, remember what Hopkins was able to do a little bit earlier in this race on those restarts, was able to go way up to the top. I wouldn't put that outside. That happening especially with the fact that, oh, by the way, getting bigger in the windshield of Isabella Robusto and Hopkins right here, lap traffic up the road.
One of the big things we've been talking about, Blake, time and time again, mental toughness. We know, we've seen Isabella Robusto and what she does to remain physically fit. But to look up in the rearview mirror and see a driver who just won the most recent Pro Late Model race, to navigate your way around lap traffic, to not get discouraged after the contact with Connor Zilisch, Robusto is putting on a bit of a clinic in terms of being able to withstand pressure. Can she do it for 16 more laps?
That's going to be the question, and again, it's going to come down to who can get through this lap traffic a little bit better. You can see the number 24 goes out of the way. Robusto has to go to the high side, but letting them settle it amongst themselves as the other 24 machine gets out of the way, and Jaden Daniels to let these two fight it out with 17 to go.
Laps continuing to click off here, with Hopkins now trying to set up high. Robusto getting a little bit of pressure there as they come down the main straightaway. It appears as though the timing and scoring ticker has not clicked off the last couple of laps. We'll try to get that refreshed on our end, and we'll keep our eyes on the chief starter in Brandon Willard. Hopkins slides his way down to the inside as they go by Justin Whitaker to lap car.
Yeah, that seems like a timing and scoring thing in general, but you know what? They can run a couple laps past the distance, Eric, and that wouldn't be a problem with me with how this race is playing out right now. Isabella Robusto, though, really put a solid set of corners together, has made up a little bit of ground. Rusty Skews, you can see bottoming out right in front of them, but Robusto still holding strong.
Skews, the next car up ahead, as you mentioned. Robusto, though, doing a great job here. Now slides up the racetrack a little bit. Is it too much? Not quite. Chief starter Brandon Willard with open palms, 10 to go.
I was about to say, Brandon Willard always does his job great. He can tell when 10 laps to go is, so we'll count it manually here if we have to. Side by side for the race lead, and Rusty Skews lap traffic up the road.
Skews now slides up the racetrack, almost into Robusto as we hit the line. Hopkins sideways off of turn 2, and Robusto slams the door shut.
And Hopkins has to try to find another way around as Skews running the inside lane. And now 8 laps to go for Isabella Robusto to try to hang on.
Robusto with another good drive off the corner. Look at Hopkins, burp the back tires yet again on corner exit. Robusto with a little bit of clear track until the next car on the tail end of the lead lap. Behind them, Connor Zilisch has caught Brent Cruz for the final spot on the podium. Leaders on the backstretch.
What this would mean for Isabella Robusto, who has been off to a terrible start in the late model stock car portion of the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Tour through no fault of her own, but what it would mean for her to try to gain back that momentum after her great run in the Pro Late Models. But Mike Hopkins side by side for the race lead, door to door here at Hickory with 6 laps to go.
Little bit of muscle, little bit of train and paint to decide this one. 5 to go at the line. Robusto leads by half a car length. Hopkins leans on the side of the 28 car as they work their way off to.
Doesn't slow either one of them again. They continue to rub down the back straightaway. 5 to go. It'll be 4 to go this time by Robusto using that outside lane as Hopkins another slide off of turn 4.
Incredible Pro Late Model racing at Hickory. Hopkins sideways that time as he slides up in front of Robusto, who cuts underneath him. Robusto back inside. 3 to go.
Oh, some more contact made. They're still side by side. They may have lap traffic coming to the picture as well. Robusto back down low, trying to gain back some time on Mike Hopkins. It'll be 2 to go this time by.
2 laps to go. It's already been physical amongst the front 2. Who wants it most? Lap traffic ahead. Hopkins outside. Robusto falls about a half a car length behind, but dives to the bottom, coming to the white flag.
Oh, Hopkins with a big slide. Here comes Isabella Robusto. Lap traffic up the road. Robusto. Oh, no!
Terrible crash on the front straightaway after Robusto caught the backside of Mike Hopkins' car and slammed the inside wall. Boy, Robusto came off of turn number 4 and caught the left rear of Mike Hopkins' car and made heavy contact with what is a movable protective barrier there on the inside wall. Second attempt here at a green-white checker with Hopkins and Zilisch bringing us down for a 2-lap shootout.
And that restart looks like it was good, and Zilisch got all of it that he needed. They stay side by side, door to door. Looks like Brent Cruz going to try to look 3 wide into turn 3 as they're crashing further back in the pack.
3 wide for the race lead and a hard collision on the back straightaway after one car gets turned into the outside wall. I believe that was the number 43 of Nick Loden. The other car that we see right here, the 44 out of Wisconsin, in Michael Litchfeld. Let's go back and see what happened here. You see Loden on the bottom there, about 6 car inside lane to number 43. And it's Litchfeld who gets way wide, slaps the wall, just as many have done before him. Caden Quapple bucking like a Bronco through the middle. And Loden gets hooked head-on to the backstretch fence. Zilish, your front row for the restart. About 3 wide behind him in the midfield. We're back underway. Zilish is keeping pace with Hopkins here in turn 1 yet again. There's that slide from Hopkins as they make contact entering turn number 3, and the battle for the lead is on with the white flag in the air.
Zilish going to have a run on the high side, and how wide is Hopkins going to run him? We saw Zilish was strong on the top side earlier. Oh, contact!
Hopkins trying to muscle his way through. Brent Cruz into the back of Hopkins, shoves him up the racetrack. Here they come to the flag. Hopkins crashes at the finish line and wins his 2nd race to start the year. Oh my goodness, what a finish. Tristan McKee into the outside wall after the checkered flag. Hopkins with scuff marks all over his race car, and he is burning down the house in turn 1.